in a way that is not offensive. It happens, it is fridging, but never mind, Siri.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Melissa.
This is our cinema romance. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us after we were off for a couple of weeks. As you can see, and as I explained in the short that I posted last week, Melissa and I are in two different locations. Actually, that's not true. We're just, this is a new gimmick. We're trying to attract more viewership. That's along with my scruffiness. I haven't shaved. And don't take that as a backdoor brag. I haven't shaved in like 5 days. But anyway, so we're going to try recording this from remote locations, see how it goes. To begin, I want to thank everyone who has been watching. Thank you for those who came back to see us this week. If you liked the video, we would love it if you gave it a like, and if you subscribe to the channel, it would certainly mean a lot. Melissa.
Yes.
What are we talking about this week?
We're asking the question, is it fridging? Talking about John Wick.
Nice. Yes. Okay. So this is one that I especially wanted to get to because we've said many times, or I should say Melissa has said many times, our definition of fridging is one in which a woman sees her, like, Melissa, like, jump in here at any point.
Okay, yes. Basically a female character who could have had, many things to do, is basically just there, only exists so that a male character has more motivation for his arc. That is pretty much it. So it's kind of a lazy trope that you see in stories. And in my very first video discussing this, I go into great lengths and describe the whole history, where the word came from, what the thought behind it is. So if you want to hear more about that, please check that out. I don't want to repeat myself every time we do one of these segments. But so we want to know, John Wick is what happens in that movie. Is it fridging? So yeah.
And the reason John Wick is, I think, an important and illustrative example. I mean, I don't know the gender of the dog, but a woman was not killed in John Wick.
No, she's already dead. But basically the dog.
But all right, I'm going to interrupt, and people are also they're going to miss out on that that physically proximate chemistry that you and I have. But not going to go into a lot of plot detail about John Wick. The stuff that we are discussing happens very, very early in the movie. It is the inciting incident. We're not going to be going deep into the plot or anything like that because it's not necessary for the purpose of this discussion, other than to say we both like John Wick.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Spoiler alert, but I mean, even if you haven't seen it, you probably, like, just if you ever paid attention to like movies in the past like 10 years, you probably know what the inciting incident is. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, the dog kind of acts as a proxy for a woman in this story. And because the dog was actually a gift from his wife, who is now dead, she sort of represents the woman. So it's very interesting.
And dead at the start of the movie. I mean, we see her in flashbacks, right?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think if they even show her, if they like show kind of a shaky camera walking on the beach, vague picture of a woman. Like there's not
that's true. I guess it's not even really a proper flashback. It's more
Yeah,
just one of those wispy movie memories.
memory. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Um, so it's like it's like fridging by proxy
yeah.
by having his wife. Okay, so here I'm going to switch movies
Okay,
because I want to get this out of the way. This is another movie from the 80s, and it's the like easiest one that I can think of. Beverly Hills Cop.
okay,
Beverly Hills Cop. Uh, Eddie Murphy's character is at the beginning of the movie. A friend of his from childhood shows up, hasn't seen him for years. His friend was in prison. They go out drinking. His friend tells him, don't you know why I didn't rat on you? Because I love you, man. Like they have this like great bonding moment, and then his friend gets killed, and that is what sends Eddie Murphy to Beverly Hills from Detroit to try and avenge his friend's death. So this is clearly a similar setup to what you see with fridging. And I have an idea why it is like categorically different, but I'm just curious, like, have that as one example, and then also the example of the dog, like what does or does not make these fridging?
okay. I understand the question. I understand the point. The term was coined from a girlfriend being a girlfriend of a main character being killed and subsequently stuffed in a refrigerator. Um, Even so much so that the writer of that classic episode of Green Lantern even said this was a character that was created to be killed to give our hero more depth. Like that is where the term comes from.
Of
Okay,
course, of course.
so that is, we don't, even though there can be situations where it's like, oh yeah, that guy, they killed his character, and but I don't, for the purposes of everything, uh and Gail Simone even did a follow-up to this, which is no, men can't be fridged. That's not their, like there are other tropes for those kinds of things. Like fridging specifically is for women, and most of the time they will be girlfriends, mothers, sisters. Like that is it is women specifically. And the reason,
Did she
um
offer it like did she offer any kind of
yeah,
foundation
yeah,
for
no,
why
there was actually, it was called it was men defrosting. I think that was the name. They did a separate thing called Men Defrosting, talking about uh, male characters that something bad had happened to in this main thing. But what they found was that the things that happened to men were not as bad, and a lot of them were reversed, meaning like something bad happened, because it was superheroes specifically, talking about, it was female superheroes versus male superheroes. And so something bad that had happened to the male superheroes, a lot of times they came back from whatever happened to them and came back stronger than before. um, or like they got over whatever happened to them in a way that the female characters didn't. So yes, things can also happen to male characters, like, of course. um and that's, but it's a different thing.
So here's, and I'm afraid I'm going to end up talking more about Beverly Hills Cop than John Wick. But
Mikey, don't forget, Mikey has a history. In that brief time that we learn about him, he had his own life. He wasn't just Eddie Murphy's boyfriend. Like, he had his shady dealings, he had his background, he had everything. So we get this character that we learn a lot about, and he's not just a girlfriend. Like, he's not just, oh, you're there for me, you're my companion.
This is exactly what I said, that I have an idea about what it might be, because I've put a lot of thought into this. Um, because I have been trying to understand, like, why not Mikey? Why not Mikey? But that is it. It's as far as I can, at least that's what I've been able to come up with, is the only male relationship that I can think of where there would be just that default assumption of, well, he's going to have to do something, would be a brother. Like maybe even more so than a father. Like
Yeah,
I feel like the untimely death of a brother, like you wouldn't have to see the brother. You could just like, especially if we're talking about like, you know, times past, is,
yeah,
so, sir, your brother has been killed. It's like, I will avenge him. And you
yeah,
wouldn't even have to know his name.
yeah,
And I can't think of an example, but I'm almost certain this has been done at some point in like a Western
yeah,
or like any number of, so that's the only like male relationship like that I could think of. But what you said about like Mikey and Beverly Hills Cop is absolutely right, because they do go to like great lengths to establish like they grew up together, they did crimes together as kids. Mikey did take the fall for a crime that they had committed together. He went to state school, which was jail when you're 14 years old. um this is all, and they have this like scene together, compared to our like proto example of Death Wish, where like wife, daughter, that's it.
like they go to the store. That's what they get to do, right? They get to go to the store. That's what we know about them. So
Mikey gets to go to a bar, they shoot pool, they have a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah.
drinks, like they're having a good
Uh,
time, catching up. He shows them the
like
bail
Mikey,
bonds.
Mikey clearly has his own history, and he was already mixed up in this stuff. So he's what he was not only he not only gets killed, but he brings that whole world to Eddie Murphy. Like a lot of times the when a woman gets killed, it's because the world of the male character has come to her. She doesn't bring people.
Oh, that's a very, very good point that I don't think I ever would have thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's more than just a narrative device in terms of motivating Eddie Murphy. He's a narrative device in terms of the whole story. You're right. Like he brings the story to Detroit with him. That's very, very, very interesting. So, okay, so then Mikey is a plot device,
Yeah.
but the dog, I mean, the dog in John Wick,
The dog, Daisy.
we like we have to see, yeah, that is frigid.
Yeah.
Like the dog has no history.
Yeah.
We know nothing about his wife, do we?
Other than she brought him out of that world, like he loved her enough to leave his very violent past behind. I mean, encased in concrete, if you remember. Um, so like
And that's I'm trying to think how to put
not
this.
only like the dog is basically like it's him losing his wife all over again, and now he gets to punish somebody for it. Because his wife died of cancer before, there was nobody to go off.
That
But then,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, because he can't like seek revenge against cancer.
yeah,
Although I feel like Charles Bronson would have still just started shooting random criminals on the subway. Um, it's like, your wife died of a heart attack. I will defeat crime.
yeah,
But yeah, with the dog, he's able to channel that rage at someone.
yeah,
So that actually brings up a very interesting idea to me. I mean, his wife, like, where was that rage? before the dog died?
Mm.
Was it there and he was suppressing it? Like, if this is about the loss of his wife,
Yeah.
and it is,
Yeah.
because he tells Vigo, like, it's not, Vigo says it was just a car, it was just a dog. And he's like, just a dog? Just a dog? And that's when he has one of his great, like, Keanu meltdown screaming at him. Which I love. I love a good
Yeah,
Keanu meltdown. I really do. There's a movie called Knock Knock. It's trash. It is like a garbage movie directed by Eli Roth, but there is a Keanu Reeves meltdown for the ages. Oh my God. And it's worth watching this otherwise unwatchable movie just for that. But back to John Wick. Um, you know what I said about how in Death Wish that the vigilante fantasy is often coupled with some kind of inciting incident, like even in someone's mind, like I would do this if, and it's usually somebody did something to my partner, somebody did something to my children.
yeah.
Like, I could imagine doing something like this if this happened. And then we see vigilante movies where something like that does have to happen. And that's what's in it. So, in the case of John Wick, like, was there, like, in the mind of the John Wick character, or if a friend, and not that he has friends, but if a friend had asked him, John, what might, motivate you to get back into life?
I don't, what's interesting in the movie, before we meet the, the bad guy, the guy that's going to kill Daisy, before we meet that guy, like John Wick is, we see this guy in pain and we see him starting to bond with this dog, and like he seems like he's starting to heal. Like I don't believe he will get back into the life until after the
Okay.
inciting incident. I think the dog is doing exactly what his wife wanted it to do, which was to help him love something, to help him heal, to help him, have somewhere to put this kind of, learn to love something and take care of it again. If you remember, he kind of ignores the dog at first and then slowly starts building a bond. Like it's kind of like this beautiful thing. And then so when the inciting incident happens, I mean, we feel it, we get it, we're like, yes, John Wick, go. Like they
No,
deserve it.
of course, of course. And I mean, I do
So,
think some of that comes from, I don't know that we've touched on this yet in any of our conversations, but I'm always bothered by the sort of trope in movies where the a threat to an animal is deemed more urgent than the threat to, like, even a whole building of people, depending on, like, the movie. Independence Day is one of the
Independence Day, I know, but
great.
man, it works so well.
It definitely works to give the audience something to rally
Yeah.
behind, and that's what I mean, like, but I don't think they were just using the dog in a
No,
story like
I
that.
I think they were avoiding the grossness of the usual fridging trope by you having a dog instead of his wife.
No, I definitely
Yeah.
think they were. I
Yeah.
mean, I think this is definitely a movie made by people, certainly Keanu Reeves, or at least based on what I know of the man, he would have encountered the term fridging. He would be well aware of this trope. Um, and I'm sure he would have, said, hey, even if, like, maybe she
Is
wasn't
there
dead.
another way we could do this?
Yeah, I'm sure had maybe the original script featured his wife dying, being killed, he would have said, let's find another way. And they did, and that's great, and it works. But have they, I like everything that you pointed out about the dog doesn't just represent his wife, the dog represents the healing. The
Yeah.
dog represents him like moving forward, and he is putting it behind him. So there wasn't this like simmering rage that was just
Yeah.
looking for an excuse.
What's interesting is when you start looking at that way, it actually gives his dead wife, who again doesn't have a part in the movie, like really other than being a hazy thing, it it pays respect to her intelligence, her compassion, her care, her love for this character in a way that's just kind of like put out there, that I think is very interesting. And also, I mean, the end of the movie, he gets, no, we've already said a spoiler alert, right?
Well, I mean, I said we weren't going to go deep into plot details, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But the dog that he adopts at the end of the movie, more represents where he's at then. Like he is bruised and battered and tough and on death's door, because I think he rescues a dog that was going to be put down. And I think they make a point, like,
Also, like Daisy, I made a joke about not knowing the dog's gender, but I guess Daisy would be a girl.
yeah,
And, but the like Daisy is a beagle,
yes,
and then the dog he adopts at the end,
yeah,
yeah, Daisy is a puppy. So young, feminine,
yeah,
like associated with children and
yeah,
Snoopy,
yeah,
Peanuts, versus I think it's a pit bull, right?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
not a sweet puppy beagle. No, a dog that's been through it, a dog that can be loyal, but can also turn on people. Like that is a tough dog. It's a tough dog.
that's
Like a
very
tough
that.
guy dog. So
So given all of that, what the dog potentially represents, um, and like what it says about the character of his wife, did to what extent did they avoid like the ickiness of the fridging trope?
we
Like
did
they
have
did
we did not have to see or hear about or imagine the violence against this woman. Like that's a big part of it. I think
see this,
it's
yes,
yeah,
that it's not just that they're killed in these like
yeah,
violent, disruptive ways. I mean,
yeah. With
they
very
started
often
to
sexual
Cumberland,
assault being a part of
yeah.
it. Like it's not having to see that happen to a woman, um that's much better, right? Like
No,
we don't
it
need
doesn't. No, it
to,
absolutely is.
yeah,
It absolutely is. All right, so then here comes the big question. Is it fridging?
it is. It is fridging, um, but it's done in a very smart way, in a way that I don't think is offensive, in a way that is still very impactful. And it's so clever, mainly because it also shows like what a ridiculous trope it is. Like we don't need to see this thing happen to a woman. Like a puppy can take her place. Like it's like, right? That's like, and the thing is,
Oh,
it
you're
works
right. You're right.
so well.
Rather
Like
than
him,
see a woman assaulted,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
sure,
no,
right
I
off
don't
screen.
like what. No, don't get me wrong. I can't watch the Daisy part either, but
No, I
that's
know. I know.
like that's yeah.
No,
Um,
very, very interesting.
yeah, no, that's one of the reasons I love John Wick so much. It's the reason I think I've always loved John Wick so much. Even before I had studied fridging or even looked into it, and I saw John Wick in the theater, a part of me was like, oh my gosh. And like I just internalized, like
It
there's not,
fell
it's
in
the
love with that
job.
movie in a way that I
I
just
know.
found very surprising.
Yeah.
And it's certainly
I know. I remember you were
brilliant.
like, I know it's a good movie, but you really love it. I was like, yes, I love that movie.
I told
Um,
other people, and they were like, "Really?" Like, it's like my wife loves that movie, and they're like, "John Wick?"
and
That
I remember one of the reasons I loved it so much is like there is not a dead woman on the floor. Like it's yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we managed to record a successful remote episode. Um, I do the editing. I have tried as much as I could to avoid jump cuts. I know jump cuts have become just part of the like visual vocabulary on YouTube. Um, I know a lot of my edits are still very ragged, but I've tried to avoid just the straight up jump cuts. There might be some jump cuts in this, but also I feel like Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, this was a fairly tight conversation and it might not need a lot of cuts.
Yeah.
Um, and the Siri thing will probably be something good to put at the beginning as a nice opener. Um, so we're gonna wrap this up. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please do click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and jump into the comments. Let us know what you think about this. And if there are other movies where you'd like for us to talk about the fridging issue, please do let us know. I don't know exactly what we're going to do next.
Oh, yeah, I guess we'll have to figure it out. I do want to shout out though, we've had some excellent comments on our last videos, which
Oh,
were a
yes.
series of videos that we did on Artifice Girl. So I want to thank the person that we've been having a dialogue with. I think that they came up with some really, really amazing things. So thank you guys. It's just really exciting to always talk to somebody else that loves a movie or points something out, because I think both Taylor and I are very open to learning new things and hearing other perspectives. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. And for anyone who enjoyed the videos on Artifice Girl, I would encourage you to go back and look at some of the comments because there were some really excellent points made. But for now, I'm Taylor,
I'm Melissa.
and this has been our Cinema Romance.
Bye.